You are probably in one of two situations right now. Either you've got payroll in one place, PTO in a spreadsheet, benefits in your broker's portal, and a time clock that doesn't talk to any of it, so someone on your team is putting all of that together by hand every month, or you already have one of these platforms and you've either outgrown it or you just picked the wrong one, and now you're using something you don't actually like. Either way, which all-in-one HR and payroll platform is best for you comes down to one number, and that's how many people you employ. Because most of these tools are only good at one size, and the one that's perfect at 20 people is the wrong call at 200, and that also goes the other way around. So instead of booking demos with 5 different companies and sitting through all of their sales pitches, just watch this video until the end because I've done the research for you. And one quick disclosure before we start, this video is sponsored by Paylocity, so they are one of the options I'll be covering, but don't worry, they are not the only option I'm going to be covering in this video, and by the end you will know which tool is actually best for you. You'll also find links to every tool I mention in the video description. So let's jump in. Now there are basically 4 buckets that you can fall into. Under 25 employees, 25 to 50, 50 to 500, and 500 and up. For each one of those buckets, you will have different needs, so I'll cover each separately. There will be timestamps in this video, so if you want, you can just skip to the bucket that your business falls into, or if you want the most complete understanding of why you need which one, then watch the entire video. If you are under 25 people, you want the cheapest thing that actually runs payroll correctly and files your taxes. That's it. Everything else is a distraction at this size. There are basically 2 real options here. Gusto Simple at $49 a month plus $6 per person, or OnPay, which is also $49 a month plus $6 per person. So the exact same price, and there is one difference that decides it between these two, and that is multi-state. Gusto Simple only covers one state, so the moment you hire one person across a state line, you get pushed into the next plan, which is Gusto Plus, which is $80 a month plus $12 per person, meaning your cost per employee just doubled with one hire. OnPay doesn't charge anything extra for multi-state. So if you already have people in more than one state, or you have plans to hire in another state, then OnPay is the better deal. But if you are all in one state and you want a nicer product, then I personally prefer Gusto. So bucket 2 is between 25 and 50 employees. And this, in my opinion, is where it gets more interesting, because you now have 2 different approaches to pick from. The first option is a payroll-first platform with HR attached, and that is Gusto Plus at $80 a month plus $12 per person. Payroll is the core of it, and the hiring, onboarding, and time tracking are built around that. The second option is an HR-first platform with payroll attached, and then you are looking at something like Bamboo HR. Their plans range from $10 to $25 per employee per month for the HR features, but this doesn't include payroll yet. That is a separate paid add-on, and their payroll only covers US employees. So how do you actually choose between them? Just ask yourself where the pain is. If your pain is running payroll and staying compliant, then go with Gusto. If your pain is hiring, onboarding, performance reviews, and chasing signed documents, then Bamboo HR is a much stronger HR product that you can then add payroll onto. Now, a quick note before we move on to the next bucket. If you are currently in this range but you are scaling fast, then it can be worth it to get a more premium solution now to avoid switching costs later. Because switching your payroll later means redoing all your data, and most providers want you to do that at the start of a new year. So if the growth is coming, it can be worth just starting there instead of moving later. Bucket 3, 50 to 500 employees. So 50 to 500 people, at this size you almost certainly have someone whose actual job is HR. You've probably got a mix of salaried and hourly staff, and you don't just need software anymore. You need someone to actually help you implement it into your business. You need a service relationship. The real options here are Paylocity, Paycom, Paycor, and ADP Workforce Now. And the first thing when you start researching these companies is that none of them actually publish their price. And that's because at this level you're not really buying one product. You are building a package out of modules. So what you pay completely depends on your headcount, how many states you're in, and which pieces you actually need. But just for reference, third-party research puts a full Paylocity setup at somewhere around $22 to $32 per employee per month, and Paycom at $25 to $36. But those are third-party estimates, not numbers the companies actually confirmed. Now looking at G2, you will find that Paylocity has 4.4 stars out of 5 across over 6,000 reviews, and over 70% of those reviews come from mid-market companies. So this is the size of the company they are actually built for. But why is Paylocity so popular in the mid-market segment? In my opinion, there are three main reasons. The first one, and this is the one I would weigh the most, is support. You're not just buying the software, you need to run it smoothly, and for that you need great support. And G2 actually scores quality of support out of 10. So across the 4 mid-market platforms that I mentioned, Paylocity comes out on top at 8.7, Paycom is at 8.5, ADP Workforce Now at 7.9, and Paycor sits at 7.7. Now they also rate all kinds of other stuff, such as ease of setup, whether it meets the requirements or not, and you can see in this table that consistently Paylocity scores at the top for pretty much every single category. And there's a reason for that gap. At Paylocity, you get an account manager, an actual person with a support team behind them, instead of a general queue. ADP's default, for example, is a service center, so you call in and just get whoever picks up. Now what ADP does have is the option to hand HR off completely, where their own people run your benefits and payroll admin for you. Nobody else here does that at the same scale. But that's a different product at a much higher price. Now the second reason that Paylocity is the top pick for mid-market businesses is that the all-in-one part is actually true. You get the basics like payroll and tax filing, benefits enrollment, time tracking and scheduling, onboarding, hiring, performance reviews and training, and all of that runs off of one employee record, so you're not syncing everything between systems. But then there are also two things that most competitors here don't have. Paylocity bought Airbase in late 2024, and that's now their finance module. So you also get expense management, corporate cards, and accounts payable automation. And they have added an IT module for asset tracking and access management with single sign-on. And again, you just pick whichever of these modules you actually need, and your pricing gets built around that. And the third reason is the employee side. Paylocity has a feature called Community, which is a company feed, discussions group, and peer recognition, and it's included free for every client. Now, I've seen people call this a Slack replacement, and that's not really accurate. And it's also not trying to be. If you are a 70-person software company already on Slack, just keep using Slack. It integrates with all the other tools you work with, and this doesn't. Where Community actually helps is the opposite kind of company. Gyms, restaurants, warehouses, field teams, just people who aren't behind a desk all day and were never on any internal tool in the first place. It reaches them because they are already in the Paylocity app during their shift. That's where they clock in, check their schedule, and request time off. Then on the integrations, the ones that matter at this size are the accounting ones. QuickBooks Online, NetSuite, and Sage Intacct all push your payroll numbers straight into your accounting system. So nobody is re-entering wages, taxes, and benefits by hand. And this is worth comparing to Paycom because they actually have the opposite approach. They are proud of being a closed system built entirely in-house. So for accounting, they generate a report that you then import yourself. If you want a live connection to NetSuite or QuickBooks, you are paying for a separate tool to build that bridge. So then we have bucket 4, which is 500 employees and up. Above 500 employees, the conversation changes again. You're not really buying a tool anymore, you're buying a system that finance, legal, and IT all have opinions about. The names in this category are UKG Pro, Dayforce, ADP Workforce Now at the top of its range, and Workday. Paylocity does serve companies into the thousands as well, but this is where the enterprise platforms start winning on things like complex approval chains and workforce planning. And honestly, if you're in this bucket, you probably already have a procurement process and a short list. The one thing I'd say is that the gap between these platforms is a lot smaller than the gap between a good implementation and a bad one. So focus on the team you are getting and not essentially the feature list. Now you may be wondering how it works if you have international employees, or if you want to hire internationally in the future. If you employ people in countries where you don't have a legal entity, then no US HR platform handles that on its own, including every option in this video. Paylocity does global payroll through Blue Marble, which they own, but it assumes that you already have a business entity in that country. If you don't have that, then what you need to do is pair your US system with an employer of record like Deal, which is around $599 per employee per month. and those people then aren't on your payroll at all, Deal is legally their employer and just sends you one invoice. And you can actually combine both. For example, Paylocity with Deal. If it's 5 people abroad, just keep your US platform and add an EOR. If a third or more of your company is international and you don't want to set up international business entities, then it can be smart to move everything onto Deal or Rippling instead, which is going to be more expensive at around $600 per international employee per month. So overall, which one should you pick? Here's how I would decide. If you are under 25 people, go with OnPay if you have staff in more than one state, and Gusto Simple if you don't. If you're at 25 to 50 employees, go with Gusto Plus if your pain is payroll, and Bamboo HR if your pain is HR. And Paylocity if you are going to be scaling up to above 50 employees within a year. Then if you're at 50 to 500 already, my top pick is Paylocity above Paycom, ADP and Paycor for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Then if your headcount is 500 and up, I would check out UKG, Dayforce or Workday, and I'd spend your energy on the implementation team rather than the feature comparison. And wherever you land, if you are hiring abroad without an entity in that country, then add an EOR like Deal or Rippling on top of it. So if you would like to take a look at any of the tools mentioned, I'll leave links down in the description where you can book demos and just check them out. If this video helped you decide, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.